Hey everybody, welcome back to The Critical Gentleman. Today we're going to talk about 7 iconic dress watches that would look great on any wrist. Following up my videos about iconic divers and iconic chronographs, this video will follow roughly the same rules. In order for me to consider a timepiece iconic, I generally expect it's not only easily recognizable, but has also been in production for a long time. We'll start with one of the oldest watches on the list, which is the Cartier Tank. This watch came out in 1917 and has been in production ever since. Not only is this design easily recognizable at a glance, but it introduced a new approach to watch design. As a jeweler, Cartier considered both the aesthetic and the function of his watch and wanted to create something that incorporated the strap of the watch into the overall design aesthetic. The result is now the classic design we associate with the Cartier Tank, including the signature sapphire embedded into the crown. Many celebrities have worn this watch, including Clark Gable and Jackie O. It is still offered today in a menagerie of models and sizes, and remains both iconic and stylish even today. Next we have a watch that's a personal favorite of mine, and that's the Longines flagship. This watch was ubiquitous in the 60s and 70s and embodied the height of watchmaking and style at the time. The watch is still available in the Longines Heritage Collection, and even though Longines has since been forced to the bottom of the Swatch Group hierarchy, I still think that their Heritage Collection presents tasteful designs at a relatively attractive price point. My only wish is that they would stop blowing them up in size. The next watch on the list is rather similar and stood as a competitor to the flagship in the 60s, which is the Omega Constellation. This watch was the top-of-the-line Omega offering in the 60s and offered a chronometer-certified movement either with or without date. The iconic pipe-hand dial and dog-leg case is still used to identify this watch visually, and even though it went through a relatively ugly period in the 90s and 2000s, Omega recently rekindled the Constellation flame in their release of the Globemaster. Bringing back the pipe-hand dial and three-handed simplicity, I think it's an excellent dress watch, and at 40mm is even a reasonable size. Sticking with 60s era timepieces for a second, we're going to take a look at the Japanese Grand Seiko. Now this watch is a little iffy in this iconic category only because for a long time you couldn't get one outside of Japan. Recently Seiko has begun distributing these around the world and has released a number of new models to promote their high-end offering. The watch was originally released in 1960 and is now available either in mechanical automatic or Seiko spring drive movements. They have been gaining in popularity and arguably rival the Swiss makers for quality and accuracy. Overall, it's a strong contender for a dress watch in any collection, and if it is not an icon already, it will be one soon. To crank the timeline back a little bit, we're going to repeat a watch that was just in my top 13 last week, and that is the JLC Reversal. I won't say too much since I am doubling up, but the fact is this watch has been around forever and is recognizable for its size and shape just as much as the Cartier Tank. Add to that the reversible case, and you have the unique qualities and the heritage for one of the most iconic watches ever made. Doubling up again on my list of watches under 38mm from last week is the Patek Calatrava. This watch represents the highest tier of watchmaking, even though they are prohibitively expensive for many people. Their prevalence among the watch collecting community cannot be denied. The current model of the Calatrava is the 5119G, and even though I prefer some of the older references more, the Calatrava line continues to be one of the most iconic around. Finally, the watch that I saved for last on this list is the one you probably have all been waiting for, and that is the Rolex Datejust two-tone. Why the two-tone? This watch has graced the wrists of our fathers, grandfathers, and uncles for generations. Even though the trend may be more towards solid metals today, the two-tone Datejust is still a classic everyday wearable watch that is dressy enough to wear to the office and casual enough to keep on for the weekend. I think just how widespread this watch is says a lot about its reliability and the reputation of the brand as a whole. Even though all the watches on this list today are pretty up there on the price tier, the fact is they are some of the most iconic watches still around, and would serve any collection well both in terms of wearability and long-term value. Let me know if I left any watches out of this list in the comments below, and please don't forget to like or subscribe. Stay tuned for more giveaway information, and thanks for watching The Critical Gentleman.